All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Kimmy McBurney with Carolina Radon. Today, we are doing our quick 30-minute recap, or I guess informational session for the discussion about radon gas and its impact on health and real estate. So let's dig in. So here we are. Our company, like I said, is Carolina Radon. We care about your indoor air. You can always visit us at carolinaradon.com and inquire about getting a free estimate. And right now we are actually also offering free testing. So if you are interested in getting testing done for free, you can find us there at our website or give us a call at that top right number, 214-5101. We serve all of Western North Carolina, and we are certified in both radon testing and mitigation. Very important thing to consider when interviewing radon companies. And if you're on social media, feel free to give us a follow. Our Instagram is Asheville Radon Mitigation. We post lots of informational things practically daily, so give us a follow and follow along. This is us. So it's myself and Zeke Seaton. We both come with, many years in the industry. Zeke actually comes from the basement crawl space world. I come from the home inspection world. So again, many years of joined experience, and we both co-own Carolina Radon. And so outline. So we're going to talk about the whole evolution of radon. So what is radon? How does it get in your house? What are the health issues? How do you test for it? How do you fix it? And then kind of where we go from there. And then I'll leave some time at the end for questions and answers. So what is radon? Radon is a radioactive element found in the periodic table. I am going to play this quick video really quick because they say it much more eloquently than I ever could. So let's give it a watch. All right, so again, that's just kind of the quick and easy, but we'll dig into each part of that if it lets me move on. Going here. I feel like I'm frozen. Play. Bear with me just a second. No, we don't want to watch it again. Let's see. Sorry, technical difficulties. Get over here. Yes, we already watched it. No. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to have to somehow escape that. There we go. All right, we can move on from there. All right, apologies. So again, basically radon, radioactive, colorless, odorless, tasteless gas emitted naturally by the Earth's surface. It's actually a product of uranium breakdown. So somewhat unavoidable. And here we're going to talk about how radon enters the home. So basically radon gas is everywhere, but the concern with homeowners is that when radon gas enters a home, it can be trapped in the home. So basically our homes act as a nice vacuum. So, the radon is in existence, and, it's met with all sorts of natural forces, barometric pressure. But when it's underneath a home, we have these fancy HVAC systems or ventilation systems in our home, which really draw that gas right in. So that's really the concern. And it can come in through cracks in your slab. It can also permeate the slab. Cracks in cinder blocks, HVAC systems, like I said, underground buried ducting, sump pumps. So all sorts of ways to find its way in. Again, here's another kind of more graphic representation. So again, water supply, floor drains, cracks in the foundation, etc. So what are the health issues? So like you guys saw from the video, unfortunately, it is a cause of lung cancer. So what the concern actually is the radon gas will break down into radon decay products, so more of a tangible substance. When we inhale those, when they become attached to dust particles, etc., they can get into our lungs and mutate or damage the cells in our lungs and cause lung cancer. That's really the main concern. Alpha particles cannot penetrate the skin per se. They're not like a gamma ray. So really the main concern is inhaling those particles. They're of no concern if they're just, on the surface of our body or on our skin. But when they get inhaled, that's the issue. So again, causing lung cancer, second leading cause of lung cancer, only second to smoking. So really kind of the first cause, because if you don't smoke, then this really is the only cause of, or the top cause of lung cancer concerns. So again, EPA recommends all homes should be tested, especially if you live here in Western North Carolina. We are EPA level 1, which I'll share a map in a second that kind of depicts that. And really the only way to know is to test your home. There is no other way to determine if you have a concerning level of radon other than to test. And so the safe level that a lot of people talk about is 4.0 picocuries per liter. Unfortunately, there is no safe level of radon, right? It's kind of like drunk driving. The law has established that I think it's 8.0 or something is a safe level, but really no safe level of drinking and driving. So same thing with radon. And here you can see it stacked up with some other toxic deaths, so in comparison to pesticides or other air pollutants, radon really is much more significant. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. So same, here's drunk driving again. Radon kills more people than drunk driving. So drownings, fires, airline crashes, anything like that. So again, a little bit more prevalent than I think most people realize. So how do you test for radon? So like I said, you won't know unless you test. So there's a couple ways to test. You can have a professional test, or a company test, which is something we offer. We use, calibrated machines that are specifically made for it. But also you can buy DIY kits. There are charcoal kits. You can get them on Amazon or Lowe's or Home Depot, and they're plenty reliable. But the professional test will give you a little bit more data. So again, we're testing picocuries per liter. 4.0 is the standard here in the United States. But FYI, the World Health Organization, their standard is 2.7. So kind of just illustrating that, some other countries have a little bit more stringent of a requirement than we do here in the US. And again, the only way to know is to test. So here's an illustration, and I have found this to be true. It doesn't matter. I say radon doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if your house is old or new or a slab or a basement or a crawl space. Here's an illustration. One home can be 20, the next one's 1.5. So just because your neighbor's is high or low doesn't mean yours will be the same. So again, you always want to test your specific property, your home, and make sure that you understand the level. Here's that map that I promised you. Basically, this is a map showing every county where radon has been found to be over 4.0. This is not saying every home is over 4.0, but basically saying, hey, in every county it's been found. So if you are within this county, it would be wise to test. The highest level ever found in Buncombe County was 169.3. Henderson County, if you're in this area, was at 400 plus. So unfortunately, we definitely do have high concentrations of radon. So make sure you test to see where you fall in that. Again, couple testing options. Short-term kits, that's the charcoal that I mentioned. Long-term kits is going to be defined by something 90 days or longer. Those are kits or monitors you can buy again on Amazon. A couple different companies make them. And then the professional testing is a continuous radon monitor. Those typically test 48-hour increments. You can go up to 72 hours, but again, you want to go in multiples of 24, but 48 hours is the most common. So now we're all, I'm sure, worried and or wonder what we can do about it. So like I always like to say, as radon is worrisome, but at the same time, it's 100% preventable. All homes can be retrofitted with some sort of a mitigation system to reduce the risk. So here's a couple we see. Basically, we are preventing the radon from entering the living space. So here's what that looks like. So most of the systems are called a depressurization system. So some of them are sub slab, sub pit, or in a crawl space. So basically, here's kind of 3 illustrations. Here's one system that's going out through an attic that was in a slab penetration. We can also do a multi-point and have a point use the sump pit as a suction point. Or if you have a crawl space, then we can encapsulate with the membrane and put that suction point underneath the membrane. And a house like this could also be a situation where you have to have multiple systems, depending on the layout of the home. If you have slab plus crawl space, we would have to do 2 systems or tie them together. So again, just a really important thing to note is to have your system professionally designed by somebody. And if you have a unique foundation like this, making sure you have somebody out there to put their eyes on it. Most companies will, with some caveat, guarantee to have your level below 2. So again, that's important when you're interviewing different companies. Here's what they look like in real life. You're going to have, like I said, inside this suction point with a manometer. That's going to show you if the system is working or not. It will not tell you the radon level, but there are numbers on there that tell us the reading if we're basically getting airflow. And then outside, so it needs to be mounted on the exterior. You're going to have that suction fan, which are continuously working to basically suction air out from underneath the slab and displace it outside. So basically that contaminated air is never making it into your home, which is what's important. And we're going to test and make sure we get good communication, meaning if we put that suction point that it's pulling out all the air from underneath the home, or a majority of it. And this is important if your home is older. The newer homes are built on an aggregate base, so we can get good suction. But if the home was built straight on the dirt or the clay soil that we have here, sometimes we have to make modifications to the system to make sure they work appropriately. So this is what it looks like, a fancy extraction point. We basically dig a hole in the slab, cut a hole, and then we excavate up to 5 gallons of dirt. Again, just depending on the quality of dirt, if we need to do more. But basically, that's going to give us a vacuum point to extract that air. And then if we do use the sump pit, we want to make sure that's sealed, because if we're suctioning and it's not sealed, we're just going to be sucking out the main air. So making sure we also are sealing major cracks in slabs, etc. And then, like I said, if you're on a crawl space, we do need to encapsulate that crawl space. It doesn't have to be a true watertight encapsulation, but we do need to make sure we seal all seams and seal it to the walls, to any piers or any penetrations, to make sure we have that solid seal, so that we put the suction point underneath that encapsulation, we're making sure we're displacing the air truly. So that kind of right side of the photo is the encapsulated crawl space. And here it is again. So we're going to have that same suction point underneath that membrane to make sure we're displacing that air to remove that risk of radon. And then the first illustration I mentioned, we usually put the fan on the exterior, but sometimes depending on the routing of the home, we need to route it through the attic. So we can do that as well. In that case, the fan does need to be in the attic. The fan should never be in the living space. It's either got to be in the attic or outside. And, they're a little bit of an eyesore, but lots of homes here in Western North Carolina have them. So you're not alone, but we do have these handy dandy cosmetic covers if that so appeals to you. So I get this question a lot. Can I just seal the cracks or, we like to just keep our windows open. Unfortunately, it is not an effective or practical long-term solution. Really, it's not even a short-term solution. We've had homes tested when the windows are open and can still produce high ratings. So really not effective. Definitely need to get it mitigated. I think that's at the end. I'll come back for questions. North Carolina DHHS, feel free to scan that, does have some resources, free resources. But really at Carolina Radon, we're happy to be a resource for you guys. Like I said, we do free estimates, free site visits. And right now we are doing free testing. So if you want to get a free estimate or a free test, go to our website, carolinaradon.com, and fill it out. I'm going to stop sharing. Da, da, da. And we're going to stop